would you like to be president?
Yes, I would like to.
Then let's buy a fucking autopen.
Yeah! Yeah, because I saw the one they're using at the White House, and that needs to be updated. That's old tech right there.
For only $4,149, you can buy yourself an auto pen plotter handwriting machine with auto feeder automatic signature writing machine for letter, 2x industrial level, 57 millimeter stepper motor, advanced version. I don't know what any of that means.
I have no idea either.
I've actually never seen a real auto pen in my entire life. But the legal industry that I worked in, I guarantee you they were being used. And I think I've discussed this before with CEOs.
For low-level shit. Or medium to low-level shit.
Yes. They file one signature, and I know because I've handled these signatures, and that signature goes on all of the documents.
Correct. And listen, as a senior NCO, I have had signature authority for my commander probably a dozen times in my career. And there's a big memo, and your commander writes in there, Sergeant First Class Pop, Social Security number, blah, 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 and it has my designated signature authority for all matters concerning. And then he signs it, and I have to keep a copy of that. So when I have to sign something for the commander, I have a little stamp, I print it out, boom, I attach the memo, send it up the chain of command, and then I copy my commander via email. So he knows what I'm signing for him. What I'm trying to say here is there's always a paper trail. If somebody in Dictator and Chief Staff was given signature authority for stuff like that, there will be a paper trail for it. Because I find it hard to believe that you're issuing pardons, releasing pedophiles and convicted felons from prison, and there's no paper trail. I'm sorry. I'm not. I want to see a thorough investigation, and it's going to get lively up in here.
Yeah, I 110% agree with that. The whole auto pen signature on these, I think it was like
2,400, something like that.
Pardons on the last 2 days.
I am not sure the last 2 days, but I know there's a Wikipedia that shows historically all the presidents and all the pardons, and I think Biden's on there now.
Okay. Look, there's just no way that Joe Biden, in his condition as he left office, was going through all of those pardons. What I suspect, and to what Pop said, is a lot of people in and around the White House called in a lot of favors and had friends and fellow pedophiles pardoned. I'm sorry, did I say that? Pardoned just on a whim, pretty much. And
pardon.
They're like, oh, nobody's ever going to check this. Nobody's ever going to check this. I believe that there was a contingent within the White House. These people live in a bubble, okay? If you've ever been to Washington, D.C., these people really live in their own little bubble world, and it's basically their own little bubble country, and they hate the rest of the country for the most part. They really believed that knee pads Harris was going to get the election.
Correct.
I think.
Well, I mean,
and nobody would ever be around to question any of these pardons.
This is why they thought this. They were taking, we're like literally losing $500 billion a year in the federal budget, just going into la la land, untrackable at a minimum. And the reason they thought, heels up Harris was going to win is they were backdooring all of the media. They were basically dealing with big tech. They had all of the propaganda news sources in their pocket, and they thought they were just going to push and fool everyone like they did in 2020, which I think was stolen. But that's just my opinion. And they thought, yeah, this is a shoo-in. The American people are stupid, and we're going to win, and we're just going to keep business as usual until we bankrupt this country and it turns into a bloodbath. That's what they were thinking.
I 110% agree with that.
I mean,
that's really what they had planned, what they were expecting to be able to pull off.
Yeah, arrogance and pride are the two main baits a man will use to set his own goddamn death trap.
Yeah.
And I have noticed that across the board. When somebody gets too arrogant and prideful, they're going to fall. Pride,
goeth before the fall.
Correct.
Yeah, there you have it. Now, here's an interesting thing. We pulled a bunch of the Twitter things on this, and I'm going to show this particular one of Trump. Now, Trump, I would like to say they're null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that was taking place. What they did was criminal. This is the president saying this of the previous president. Now, you can chalk this up to Trump's personality and how he's outrageous and he's a showman and all that, blah, blah, blah. Here's reality. What he's saying, if it isn't at least based in truth to some extent, could be taken as libel.
All right, stand by.
So, what am I standing by for?
Remember the prison pic of President Trump?
No.
Well, they did the mugshot picture of President Trump?
Yes.
Okay. So
the prison pic of Trump.
The way it used to work is the incoming president would give a lot of leeway to the outgoing president, i.e., Nixon got pardoned from Ford because they didn't want to make it messy and blah, blah, blah. But again, the prideful, arrogant dictator-in-chief went after Trump's family, went after him personally, tried to bankrupt him, and guess what? He got back into office and he's like, okay, I see how this works now.
Yeah.
There is going to be no Mr. Nice Guy.
Look, I'm going to go with one particular point during the raid on Mar-a-Lago in particular. If I'm this guy and I've got this kind of power and I've got a wife that I love, and you deliberately send agents to raid my wife's panty drawer,
it's on. You're all fired.
Payback. I mean, that goes back, I don't know how many hundreds of years.
Retribution.
There are lines you can't cross.
That's right.
And that's I personally, for me, that was the big one. I'm like, oh, he's going to get revenge for that.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard the FBI agents tossed her panty drawers, he's going to get something for that.
Yeah, I would be pretty pissed off about that. But if I get perp walked, booked, and you take my picture and I'm forever in a criminal database, and that should not have happened, I will not rest until I have thoroughly eviscerated you.
Well, that happened to both of us.
Yes.
As a matter of fact.
It did.
And they didn't even bother to tell us.
Yeah.
We found out.
Yeah. Well, I got caught up in that AR rap thing, and you got screwed over by an ex-wife.
Yeah. I got ex-wife in the back.
Yeah.
Actually, the Army did that to me.
You died, you got a sexecution.
I did get Here we go.
That's a good name. That's a good word.
He's going to do an episode on that. I'll let him do the episode on that rather than dragging that out and talking about all of that. So this is the Trump talking about the autopen pardon.
To follow up on the Biden autopen, are those executive orders, those pardons from the former president now null and void?
Well, I think so. It's not.
Yeah, it's not going to go any louder.
But I would say that they're null and void because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place. And somebody was using an autopen to sign off and to give pardons to, as an example, just one example, but the J6 Unselect Committee. They gave pardons with an autopen. I don't think Biden knew anything about it. And what they did is they deleted and destroyed all of the information that took them over a year to get. And the reason they did that is because the information was very incriminating about them. Like Nancy Pelosi, who was determined conclusively that she knew about 10,000 soldiers and turned it down. And if we used 500 soldiers, you would have had no problem, let alone 10,000. The young lady that said that I grabbed these powerful young Secret Service agents by the neck, okay? You know that was a big hoax. It was a lie. And she admitted it. And they deleted everything. So, you know, what they did is criminal. I think we're about to land, everybody.
And he's name dropping now.
Yeah.
He's straight up name dropping.
Yep. That is exactly my point when I was talking about
So
it being liable. The other thing is,
let's do a little picture.
Yeah. Wait. Okay.
All the snipers out there know what I'm drawing. This is the reticle of a sniper rifle. When the president mentions your name, this is on you now. You have a crosshairs because he's dropping names now.
Yeah.
He's not fucking around.
Yeah, I agree.
This is going to get great.
I agree. Yeah. Because like I said, if he just started saying these things, it could be taken as libel. Now, here's the big clue with these pardons as I see it. And bear in mind, we're in completely uncharted water. This has never happened to my knowledge before. I wasn't able to find any evidence of it happening before.
We have never, ever had such a spotlight on the massive amount of fraud, waste, abuse, and corruption in our very own government. It has existed in the past. I'm not saying it never did because we're evil headless monkeys, but it is. We're talking a budget that has trillions and trillions of dollars going through it, and $500 billion a year was going missing. Of course, they're gonna fight like hell. They want to keep the money going. They want to keep the grift going.
Yep. But on these pardons, here's the big thing. A lot of these pardons were issued without, finish the sentence for me.
Without a wet signature or a memorandum of authority.
What were they pardoning? What were these pardons pardoning?
Well, number one, a lot of them were blanket pardons. You can't do that. You can't go, from April 1st of 1995 to April 31st of 2025. Everything between there that you've ever done wrong, you're absolved. You know who can do that kind of shit? A fucking king. And that is it. That's the only historical examples I have of that.
St. Pete, your exit interview. You when it's our time, when we check out and shuffle off the hairless monkey suit and get to the gate.
I'm gonna get yelled at.
I'm gonna get when he goes through the list, he's the only guy who gets to do that.
Yeah.
And you're kind of hoping that he goes, okay, that was kind of fucked up, but we're gonna let you slide on this one. All right. This one here, I'm probably gonna have to put you in purgatory for like 100 years for this one, but okay. And that's coming for us. That's absolutely coming for us. But these pardons were given for nothing. They were just pardoned. They were just outright pardoned. Yeah. And many of those outright just blanket pardons were given to the J6 committee members.
Yes. Because they know they were fucking up by the numbers.
Right. And these pardons just appeared. And in many of the cases, those pardons were given while Biden was vacationing in the Virgin Islands.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing.
Odd.
If you are the president of the United States, they literally record virtually everything that you do.
Yes.
They listen to your phone calls. They monitor your emails. You have virtually no privacy.
Mm-hmm.
So if they had contacted President Biden and said, hey, can we use the autopen for, XYZ pardons?
Yep.
And he said, well, yeah, okay. Then they would have a case for it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that exists. I really don't.
Here's the J6 one specifically. Let's take a quick look at that there.
And by the way, that there's no indication that...
I don't know.
The president also claimed overnight that the pardons issued by former President Biden are void for the January 6th committee members, but the pardon power in the Constitution for the president is absolute.
It is. And by the way, that there's no indication that President Biden signed these with an autopen. That's what President Trump is arguing, that this were signed with an autopen and therefore they're not valid. We don't know that they were signed with an autopen, but
wait,
yes.
Because here's all of those signatures.
Yes. They're all the same, which is statistically impossible.
Yes, they're all the same. There will be some variations as the paper sits just a hair off here and just a hair off there, pushed up a little bit, not pushed up all the way. You'll see little tiny variations in right here for in the J, for example, you can see 1, 2, 3 variations, but that doesn't account for anything except movement of the paper. If you look at these characters here, and we did a lot of stuff like this because on top of SIGINT, we had to run this alongside of the human that we got documents and all of that. We would match up names and places and everything with all of that stuff. We would see documents with signatures and things, and the human guys would go through it all and
but
match
here's the
stuff
thing.
up.
If you get a handwriting,
President Biden signed these with an.
if you get a handwriting expert, they're going to look at that and go, there's no fucking way that they're that identical.
That's what I'm talking
It's
about.
not
The
gonna
human
happen.
guys had handwriting experts.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So I have seen exactly that in action before. Do I do it? No. I can look at something like that because I saw a bunch of that stuff and say, okay, I need to call a handwriting expert.
Yeah, hand it off to him.
I know that I need to talk to an actual expert.
And just hand it off to him.
Right.
Like, yeah, this is out of my lane. Take care of it, please.
Right, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Give me a memorandum of your opinion at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. File a report. You know where to put it.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Caser box.